I want to begin today by expressing our sorrow and sending our condolences to the Jewish and Australian families of those who've been murdered, those who've been injured. Our hearts go out to you. We have gathered to pay our respects. We have gathered to pay our respects for the slain and injured, but also to make a stand against anti-Semitism. This is a pivotal moment, and we need to take stock. We know that what we saw in Australia is affecting many nations, including our own. In the past 2 years, we've witnessed a huge surge of anti-Semitism in New Zealand, as in Australia. As Jewish people have raised their concerns, they have been gaslit, vilified. They have not been taken seriously. The reality that Jews are hated and discriminated against simply because they are Jews has been ignored. Jewish voices have been erased and silenced, or the Jew hatred has been seen as justified because Israel has defended its people against a terrorist group that seeks her annihilation. This is wrong on so many levels, and it needs to change. Our leaders must find a moral compass and stop dismissing Jewish concerns. In order to stand against anti-Semitism, we must understand what current manifestations of Jew hatred look like. People will say, "We don't hate Jews, it's the Zionists who are the problem." Well, what is a Zionist? What is Zion? Zion is a hill in Jerusalem, Mount Zion, first mentioned in the book of Samuel in the Hebrew scriptures, where King David captured Mount Zion from the Jebusites. Zion refers to Jerusalem or to the Temple Mount, the most holy site in Judaism. It sometimes refers to the people. It is mentioned over 150 times in the Hebrew scriptures. When the Jews were exiled to Babylon, they cried, "By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat, there we wept, when we remembered Zion." Zion, or Jerusalem, became the place for which they longed when Jews were expelled from their homeland by the Romans. For centuries in the diaspora, they prayed towards Jerusalem and Zion. Mount Zion is a sacred mountain for the Jewish people. It is their maunga tapu. At the end of the 19th century, when Europe became engulfed in anti-Semitism, Theodor Herzl formed the Zionist organization. Herzl had come to the conclusion that the Jewish people would never be accepted by European society, that they needed a state of their own. The movement to establish a homeland was fueled by Jew hatred of the European nations, in which they were persecuted and treated as inferior. This culminated in the Holocaust, when Nazi Germany and her European allies sought to kill every Jew in Europe. After the Holocaust, the murder of 6 million Jews, the world finally accepted that the Jews should have their own state. New Zealand's Prime Minister, Peter Fraser, argued strongly on the world stage that it was just and right that the Jews should have a state. And I quote from him, from what he said at the United Nations in San Francisco in 1945, he said, "Whatever can be done to help the persecuted Jewish people shall and must be done to the utmost ability of all right-thinking men. There should be no antagonism or misunderstanding between the Jewish and Arab peoples, as everyone living in Palestine would naturally benefit from what the Jewish people have made out of a land which was once a desert." So a Zionist is a person who believes in the right of Jews to self-determination, the right of Jews to have a state in their ancient homeland. Why should that be controversial? Today we hear the accusation, Israel's a colonizer, Israel's an apartheid state, Israel's committing genocide, Zionism is racism. These libels are not new. They've been around for decades. They originated in the Soviet Union, when Israel couldn't be defeated militarily the Soviet Union used their expertise in propaganda to fight Israel in the public space and civic society, using institutions like the UN and academia, and in collaboration with Arab nations who were opposed to the existence of a Jewish state. What we see today is a direct product of the Soviet Union's strategy to defeat Israel. These accusations are lies. They are falsehoods. They have no evidential or factual basis. They are designed to malign, to delegitimize and demonize Israel, Israelis, and Jews. They use the classic propaganda technique of repetition and find a willing partner in the mainstream media ready to uncritically amplify such libels. It is not surprising, given its whakapapa, that these ideas are taken up by the left. Anti-Zionism is simply a libel-driven hate movement that should be recognised as such and strongly opposed. Another significant source of current Jew hatred is the radical jihadi version of Islamism that we witnessed on Bondi Beach and on the 7th of October. ISIS, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis all operate by the same playbook, which is directed by Iran and has its roots in the Muslim Brotherhood. When Israel withdrew from Gaza, rather than build a flourishing society, Hamas turned Gaza into a terrorist state, built an underground city of tunnels, used its people as human shields, even murdering its citizens if they stood in the way of the agenda to kill Jews. This red-green alliance of hate is joined by another stream of hatred that comes from the universities in the form of post-colonial ideologies, such as settler colonialism. Settler colonialism holds up Israel as its archetypal transgressor, even though Israel does not fit the categories. Jews are not foreigners to Israel. They have had a continuous presence in the land for over 3,500 years and are indigenous to the land. It is the land within which their unique culture, language, and religion developed. It is even named after one of their ancestors, whose bones lie buried there along with their other tupuna. These various streams of Jew hatred, combined with a TikTok generation, algorithmic interference, and media bias, have created a toxic atmosphere for the Jewish people. If we are serious about addressing anti-Semitism, these things must be understood. We know that this kind of attack may start with the Jews, but it won't end with the Jews. The Jews have been called the canary in the coal mine, and Jew hatred in a nation is an indication that a society is sick. If that is so, then it must be recognised that our society is in serious trouble. We need to return to the traditional values that create stability and flourishing for all people in this nation, values of human life, dignity, and freedom. We need to fight for these things, or they will be lost, and we each have a part to play. I thank you all for coming today to stand with the Jewish community. Can I urge you to commit to making a difference in your community, to confront falsehoods about the Jewish people or the Jewish state, whether they come from our political leaders, our mainstream media, or even our church leaders. Let us commit to stand up for the Jewish people when discrimination and hate arises, and to stand up for the values of life, dignity, and freedom. Thank you.